What's real does not need defending. It just is. But in today's America, the truth is under attack, from media manipulation to government gaslighting. We're watching a political party turn fiction into policy. I'm Wolf Kage, and this is Wolf Kage Los Angeles. Strap in, because today we're cutting through the noise. We're going to expose the illusion that's holding this country hostage. Let's go. What happened to the Democratic Party? That is the question that millions of Americans are asking, and not in just quiet conversations anymore, but out loud across dinner tables, barbershops, and city streets. Why are they pushing policies that feel completely upside down? From men and women's sports to open borders with no accountability, who benefits from this confusion? Because it sure isn't the working class families trying to keep a roof over their heads. No. Let's be real. Are we supposed to believe that the same folks pushing gender theory in kindergarten are the best and brightest minds in America? And yet they tell us to just accept it. No questions, no debate, just believe. But here's the twist. Scott Jennings, love him or hate him, has become a thorn in their side. You've seen him on live TV. He calls out the hypocrisy without flinching. And every time he speaks the obvious truth, they scramble to shut him down. Why? Because the truth is dangerous to the narrative. And deep down, they know it.
I'll defend the Democrats. They are for things. Illegal aliens. You're for boys and girls sports. I mean, you are for things. And that's why you have such struggles right now in your party, because you're not for anything that's on the right side of any of the 80-20 issues that are driving this cultural divide in America. I think Westmore's actually a pretty talented communicator. The other person who spoke in South Carolina, Tim Walz, is this special mixture of extreme buffoonery and a mean spirit, which is a toxic brew. He is not the future of the Democratic Party. More is interesting, probably more interesting than some of the radicals you have out there, Crockett, AOC. I mean, those are the true leaders of your party right now.
Okay, let's start here. Let's talk about what's really going on with the open borders. The Democratic Party keeps pushing this idea like it's some great humanitarian effort. But the truth is, when millions upon millions of undocumented immigrants are let in without a plan, someone has to foot the bill. And guess who that someone is? It's you. It's me, the American taxpayer. These folks are not being settled in Beverly Hills or Martha's Vineyard. No, they're being dropped off into low-income communities, places already struggling with housing, already struggling with food deserts and underfunded schools. But that's sold as compassion. But where's the compassion in that? When migrants show up in their wealthy zip codes, they're gone in 24 hours. But when it's your neighborhood, you're expected to carry the load and say thank you for it. That is not compassion. That's exploitation. And we need to call it out. If the Democrats truly cared about these migrants, they'd open up their own gated communities. They'd sponsor housing. They'd sponsor education. They'd sponsor healthcare. And they do it all on their dime. But they don't. Because this was never about compassion. It's about control. It's about votes. It's about power. Period. They'll never admit it. But what they're doing is turning poor American communities into holding pens. Overcrowded, under-resourced, and divided. And when people push back, they get labeled hateful or ignorant. But let's ask the obvious. If open borders are such a good thing, why are the same politicians running from the very people they welcome in? It's not hypocrisy. It's strategy. Now, here's something even more disturbing. How Democrats are pushing this campaign that's erasing women. Yes, erasing women. Let's be real. Boys competing in girls' sports. Men winning Woman of the Year awards. How did we get here? Common sense tells you men and women are biologically different. That is why we have separate sports. It's been that way for over 50 years because women fought hard to be recognized. Now that progress is under attack. And guess who's funding a lot of this? Not women, powerful men. Men who want to redefine gender in a way that leaves real women with nothing to call their own. Isn't that ironic? You think the feminists would be outraged, right? But some women are so caught up in ideology, they cannot see the long game. And here's the other twist. It's not about equality. It's about erasure. It's about taking everything that belongs to women, sports, spaces, even language, and handing it over to men in wigs with no questions asked. And if you say otherwise, you're the villain. It's not hate to point out reality. It's not ignorance to defend fairness. In fact, it's the most common sense thing in the world. So the question is, why are so few people saying it? While our economy limps along and families juggle bills and grocery hikes, what are the Democrats doing? They're chasing Donald Trump like it's 2016 all over again. Courtroom drama, endless investigations, headlines about hush money, documents, or whatever the flavor of the week is. Meanwhile, gas prices stay high. The borders still wide open. Well, Trump is doing something about that. They're not concerned with fixing things that actually matter. They're obsessed with Trump. Not because they fear him breaking the law, but because they fear him breaking their grip on power. That's not justice. That's political theater. And guess what? It's paid for with your tax dollars. Let me say this loud and clear. Only people with money to burn have the luxury of voting Democrat these days. If your mortgage is covered, if your fridge is full, and your job is locked in, no matter who's in office, then fine. Maybe you can afford to play political games. But if you're working paycheck to paycheck, if you got bills piling up and kids to raise, then you need leadership that lives in your reality, not in gated compounds with private security. The Democrats, they become the party of distractions, of symbolism over solutions. And if you're still working for a living, you should ask yourself, what exactly are they doing for you? Because right now, all I see is wasted time. So that brings me to something a lot of people miss, that everything is connected. Most folks see life like beads on a string. Homelessness here, high prices there, a little crime over in the corner, but they never look at the string itself, the thing holding it all together. And that's the problem. Because if you only focus on one bead at a time, you're just wasting time. You've got to find the string, the system tying all of it together, the corruption, the crime, the collapsing economy. It's not random. It's coordinated. And once you see that string, that's when you can cut it. That's when the whole illusion falls apart. In this next clip, you'll see how politicians are using your tax dollars to build tiny homes for the homeless. But the kicker, those homes aren't even owned by the government. They're owned by private organizations, and they're still charging you for it. But that's just the surface. See, what's really going on runs deeper. Those neighborhoods with those new tiny homes, they're not safe havens, they're hubs. Drugs are still being sold. Cartels are still operating. And illegal aliens, many of them are caught in the middle of it. Let's be honest, people don't cross the border with bags of cash. No, they come here typically broke, desperate, and vulnerable. And who do you think steps in to help? The same organizations that trafficked them in the first place. Cartels, gangs, and foreign handlers. They do not stop at the border. They operate inside our cities now. And while most Americans want to give people a chance, we've got to face this fact. Desperation can be weaponized. Vulnerable people can be turned into tools of destruction, not because they're evil, but because they're trapped. The damage is real, whether intentional or not. Now check this clip out.
So in this area, they built 100 tiny homes to house homeless people. Tell me what's happening with those tiny homes.
Yeah, those tiny homes, they fit about a bed and a little bit more. So they built about maybe over 100 tiny homes. So when that started, all the drug dealers stormed its area. So it's full open air drug dealing there every day. So of course it brings crime because they want the money for the drugs. Homes are broken into, robberies, looting, and of course homeless camps around this whole area. So these tiny homes didn't really help anything. It just hurt the whole neighborhood. And owners of these tiny homes are charging $150 a night for the size of a car. Yeah, so
the city pays $150 a night for the homeless people to live in these tiny homes to a corporation who owns the tiny homes, but instead of people just sleeping in the tiny homes, drug dealing is being done by the tiny homes.
That's correct, yes. So some nonprofits are operating the tiny homes, and they make a lot of money. They're paid by the city. Everything they do, they're paid.
You know, I just want to talk about this just for one moment. We need to make something crystal clear. There's a big difference between being nice and being kind. You see, the nice person does things for cameras, for applause, to keep up appearances. Their actions are polished, but they're hollow. Not about real solutions. It's about looking good. It's about virtue signaling. The kind person, on the other hand, they do what actually needs to be done, even if it's unpopular, even if it makes people uncomfortable. But they do it with heart. They do it with clarity. They do it with purpose. One helps the community move forward. The other keeps everybody stuck, smiling on the outside while everything collapses underneath. This isn't just philosophy. It's the foundation of how we keep getting played. Politicians and the media, talking heads, shame people into choosing the quote-unquote nice path. Why? Because nice people are easier to control. They don't ask tough questions. They're too worried about their image to challenge authority. And when they see corruption, they hesitate to speak out. Why? Because they don't want to seem mean or aggressive. That's how things like we saw in the last clip keep happening. People think, well, my local rep seems like a nice person. They must mean well, so I guess we'll stay quiet. But once you wake up and see that these people are neither nice nor kind, just selfish, calculating, and disconnected from reality, then you'll be ready to act. Because the truth is, if someone is willing to perpetuate homelessness, addiction, and despair, they don't care about you. They don't care about your family. They don't care about your neighborhood. And once you see that clearly, you'll know exactly what to do when the moment comes. Now, this next clip from John Colby breaks down exactly what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to talk about here. You see, my goal isn't just to rant. It's to wake certain people up, to help everyday citizens realize we're being played. And once you see the game, you can stop losing to it. Because these nonprofits, these so-called government agencies, these polished, non-governmental organizations, they are not here to solve anything. They're here to profit off of problems. They take tax dollars meant for the people and funnel it through layers of red tape. And what comes out on the other side is either disaster or just another scam. At the core, it's legalized money laundering. That's all it is. And until we understand that, until we stop blindly trusting these smiling faces and official sounding names, we'll keep buying whatever they're selling. Now watch this clip, pay attention, and ask yourself, who's really benefiting here? Because it's not us.
Well, that's what we have here. This is the city council. This is the Bass administration. These are the county supervisors and all the nonprofits. The nonprofits are where the money is stolen because the officials give out the contracts to their family members, to their friends, and to political associates. And that's what the mob does too. The mobs, if you're in the mob, your kids are in the mob. Your brother's in the mob. Your neighbors are in the mob. And you make sure that if you're running a gambling operation or you're involved in the trucking business or the cement business or whatever it is, you make sure your friends and relatives are taken care of. They all get a piece. They all get a taste. And that's what this mob here in LA has done. They took in billions of dollars. The homeless situation got worse, but everybody got a piece. Everybody got a taste. all of, Karen Bass's connections, all of the connections of the city council members, the families, all of it. Supervisors, everybody got a piece of the action. And no homeless were helped, and none of them were taken off the street. And look at the legal team. 11 lawyers. What does that tell you? If you have 11 lawyers, you are so guilty. You have committed so many felonies. Nobody hires 11 lawyers unless you're guilty of a lot of horrible things. Well, Karen Bass in the city has 11 lawyers.
Like John Colby just said, nobody hires 11 lawyers unless they're guilty. And here's the kicker, you're paying for it. That's right. The same politicians who defrauded the taxpayers are using taxpayer money to defend themselves from the mess they created. It's a vicious cycle where the criminal gets a raise and the victim gets a bill. You honestly can't make this up. These people commit fraud. Then they use your dollars to lawyer up and keep playing the same dirty game. And the people wonder why the system feels rigged. Because it is. As I always say, politicians are not your friends. They are not your family. They are not celebrities to worship. They are public servants. You are their boss. But somewhere along the line, they flipped the script and made you believe that they run the show. Now let's talk about these nonprofits and NGOs, because behind that innocent sounding name is a highly profitable hustle. Most of these groups, they don't solve problems. They just manage them on paper. They just give just enough to say they're doing something, and then they siphon off all the rest. And guess who's footing the bill? Of course, it's you. It's all hidden in shadows, buried in budgets, funneled through shill organizations, and shielded by fantastic PR. This is why your taxes are sky high, and nothing ever seems to change. This is not incompetence. It's intentional. And the only way to stop this is to notice, then speak up, then speak louder. Because the moment people start watching, start questioning, start raising their voices, that's when their game falls apart. Now, the last thing I want to touch on today is the idea of giving second chances to people like Anthony Weiner. Now, look, in your personal life, if you choose to give someone a second chance, that's your choice. You accept the risk and you live with the consequences. But in the public sphere, no. When it comes to people in power, there are no second chances for predators. Weiner is not just flawed. He is a sexual deviant. That means he doesn't have control over his own impulses. His judgment is compromised. His actions have proven dangerous. That's not someone who deserves a microphone, let alone a seat in a public office. No. Yet we are here, watching networks like The View bring him on like he's a serious voice in American politics, like he deserves redemption because he can form a sentence. No. That's not how this works. We don't need great politicians. We need disciplined public servants, people who answer to the citizens, not to their own ego, not to their addictions or dark appetites. Now, check out this clip and ask yourself, how did this man get back in the spotlight at all?
You resigned from Congress in 2011 over a sexting scandal. 2 years later, you stepped down from the mayoral race after sexting again under the alias Carlos Danger. And then in 2016, you sent lewd texts to a minor and served 15 months in prison, in addition to becoming a registered sex offender. Right. So with all that said, why do you think, or why should New Yorkers give you a chance at a political comeback?
Well, let me just say this. I mean, all of that happened, and I accept responsibility for it. You won't hear me do what some other people in public life have done, Donald Trump or Andrew Cuomo or Eric Adams. I'm a victim. They persecuted me for no reason. I was dealing with very serious problems. I was dealing with what I now understand to be addiction. I lost my brother Seth to addiction. And I accepted. I didn't ask for a trial. I pled guilty, served my time in prison, served in a halfway house, served probation, went to try to do good work for the formerly incarcerated. And I guess what I'm saying to people is, maybe don't vote for me in spite of what they know about me, but maybe consider that journey, that idea that we all go through things and we come out the other side. And also, what does it mean? You know, I'm Jewish, but they have this notion in Catholicism around you suffer for a reason so you can be of service at the other end. So I'm not asking people, I'm doing the opposite of what a lot of politicians do when they're in my position. Ignore that problem, pretend it didn't happen, blame someone else. I am saying, yes, I did these things. I got into recovery. I try to make my life better. And now if I can be of service, and I'm a damn good politician, I come up with answers.
Yep.
I talk to people directly.
You are.
I don't try to butter over things. I try to be direct. Then why shouldn't I? And if it's just because I have bad things in my past, that's not a good enough reason. I mean, look, all I can ever be is who I am right now.
Yeah.
And that brought me to this space.
That was wild. The Democratic Party in 2025, it's a carefully manufactured illusion designed to confuse the public to make you believe up is down, that wrong is right, and madness is progress. They don't offer solutions. They offer slogans. No real policies, no measurable benefits, just gaslighting, propaganda, and emotional manipulation meant to keep them in power and the people in chaos. And the media, they're not just complicit, they're co-owners. Every screen from CNN to Netflix is a part of a messaging machine. It's 24/7 narrative control, pushing confusion to the homes of millions. They're not just coming after you, they're coming after your children. Setting policies that will let the state intervene if you don't obey their new dogma. Teaching identity politics before arithmetic, promoting sex education before kids can even spell their own names. If there were ever a definition of evil disguised as virtue, this is it. But here's their secret weapon: marketing. They've made it trendy. They've made it popular. They've turned political submission into a social badge of honor. Celebrities, athletes, influencers, all echoing the same message: join us or be cast out. They sell confusion in slick packaging, but the truth doesn't need packaging. Truth doesn't need a brand. What is real doesn't need defending. It just is. You only need to force people to believe something when it's fake. Always remember that. So don't get caught up in their drama. Don't get baited into their fake fights. Just step back and watch the circus collapse. Stay grounded in reality because their time is running out. And the truth, it doesn't budge. I'm Wolf Kage, and this has been Wolf Kage Los Angeles. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear this. And until the next time, I bid you peace.